Where the rest of that?
All that.
Morning, everybody.
Come on, guys. All that. Come on. Look, guys. Come on, Madam President, Madam Vice President. Come on down. Come on down. Come on, Mr. President. Settle down. You were late. Settle down. Settle your butt down. Settle down. Settle your butt down. All of it. I'm going to ask my number up here. That's all right. No, I know.
Watching us, it's hard to believe we organize us, huh?
Look, don't listen to him, okay? All right. Look, let me thank you all for coming this morning, especially under really severe conditions in our city of Memphis, Tennessee. And I got my colleagues here representing Hardaway, my leader here, actually out of Nashville, John Ray Clement, and my other colleague over here, Bo Mitchell, came in, and we may hear a little bit from my leader in just a little bit. But I want to start off by thanking my ASME members. And Mr. President, stay with Mr. Agent, raise your hand there. All right, and all his members up here, and Maurice, and all of Ms. Vita, all of the members here. And this man right here is absolutely, you all may or may not know him. He's one of the original men, a part of the sanitation department in 1868, okay, Mr. Smith, and I wanted him to be here as well. I always like to come and remind people of the struggle that we've had in this country as we continue to have today. And it started with Dr. King giving his last pledge of testament in Memphis, his blood in Memphis, to come to, dignify men like this in our country. And we continue to do that today. That's the kind of fight we're fighting today with what is happening in the police department here. And all those that are here, we really thank you all for coming this morning. Now, we also want to give a shout out to certainly our love to the family, Miss Wells, Tyre, the Nichols, his children. It's a sad thing that we have to continue to talk about this kind of nonsense in our country, but we have to express continuously our love for them and just how well her influence and the family's influence was last night on the protesters. Protesters protested, and what we're calling for today is the same thing that happened last night, the calm of the protest. You must protest. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. Protest is in order. We have to protest, but they did it in such a dignified way. You can hear the echoes of the chants of, we're going to do it like Mama said. Mama said she wanted what? Peaceful protest, okay? And that's what the young folk did, transition to giving peaceful protest, but at the same time making a point. But also what we want for this family, like we want for all these other families too, we want justice, okay? Now let me emphasize this very emphatically. It doesn't matter whether you're a black cop or white cop, we want the same thing when it comes to fair treatment in this community. We want the same thing. Everybody has to be treated properly. We want justice for this family, okay? And also I'm calling for looking deeper into this. It seems like there may be something else behind this. To me, that's my gut. I don't have any facts to say another. To jerk a man out of a car for no reason at all and commence to just giving him the beating of his life, it's like there's something else maybe lurking. So we're asking that, the TBI as well as our Attorney General look deeper to see if there's something else happening behind this. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's just it's kind of weird. There's some personal stuff going on, some gang stuff going on. I'm just tossing stuff out. I don't know, but I know it doesn't look right. Old folk back in the day had an old saying that said, when something smells a little fishy, okay, there may be something else there. There could be. I don't know. But we're calling that they do look for some of these kinds of things. The family obviously has to go on. We hadn't gotten with the family, but I'm going to put this out there. We have to get with the family. The father's been taken away from that family at this particular point. The young child's dad, or if he had two children's father has been taken away. So the community needs to embrace it. We have to talk to the family to see how we might want to set something up for the child's education in the future, because we know that that baby or babies need to be educated, okay, as such as all of you all are. You wouldn't have these jobs if you didn't have a certain measure of education. So we need to do that as well. Coupled with, the reason we have my colleagues here, we may have to look at legislation, which we're thinking about looking at some kind of legislation that addresses training statewide, because these things happen. They seem to happen everywhere you got black men in particular, but we need to figure out what kind of training is done, what kind of training needs to be done, and if there needs to be some tweaking or what have you. I don't know yet, but I think the state needs to get involved. Hopefully my colleagues will touch bases on that at some point too, as to what it is that we need to do about the training of this behavior. There seems to be a culture is so rigid that it does not respect people, even though, and all of us know we need police officers. We need people to protect us. They're in our families, they're our friends. We grew up with them. But it seems as if people forget who the citizens are, need to be treated properly and humanely. Now, you're going to have sometimes some tough busters out there, and you got to deal with them, okay? But never should a traffic stop cause you to put on a wooden overcoat, a coffin at some point, okay? Never should that happen, okay? So we need to look at this very seriously and see exactly what it is we're going to try to do policy-wise to maybe change some of that. Now, I'm going to stop for a moment and let my colleague get in, Representative Hardaway, Chairman Hardaway, if you don't mind. And this is G.A. Hardaway.
Good morning. This is a bittersweet moment. We, of course, are mourning the loss of young Mr. Tyre Nichols. But on the other hand, we can be proud of the way that Memphis rose to the occasion yesterday, last night, and they found a way to do the peaceful protests. They found a way to make their feelings known, and in such a way that it makes me proud, makes all of Memphis proud, and gave leadership to the other cities, the other states, and the other countries who have their eyes on us and are looking to us for leadership in how we respond. And I'm so proud of our citizens, and I know that the family is proud too, that Memphis, Tennessee honored the memory of young Tyre Nichols with peaceful protests. As my colleague stated, this is a confusing time because we're getting a lot of confusion out of our administration. I've held back trying to make sure I didn't contribute to any of the potential for violence in the area. But I think we've got a grip on that now. We know what we're doing, and we have enough grown folks in Memphis, Tennessee to understand the sophisticated nature of that all of this international attention has brought upon us. But we're not getting straight answers, we're not getting full answers from the administration. I don't know why. I can speculate, but I do know that if we connect these dots in any way, shape, or form, that eventually they've got to go up. It makes no sense to have an elite, supposedly elite unit on the streets, and yet we can't figure out who that unit answers to. How was a car chase initiated when the protocols for nearly every law enforcement agency in the nation demands that you go up the ranks and notify your superior that you're participating or about to participate in a car chase? And then once the notice is given, then the superior has the option of calling it off or just monitoring and going with it until either it concludes in catching the fleeing citizen or something else occurs. But we haven't heard about the chain of command. How far up did the immediate notice go of the car chase? How far up did the notice go that there had been a violent encounter and there was an individual being transported to the hospital? How far up did it go? We don't know. The only thing we got quick turnaround on, a quick response on, was 5 officers out of 9 or 10 who we know were on the scene who received administrative discipline. There's more to the story, and I think that the citizens of Memphis and Shelby County deserve to know the whole story as soon as possible. You can't have an effective law enforcement agency operating in Memphis, Tennessee, and Shelby County unless you have the trust of Memphians and Shelby Countyans. You can't get the trust of Memphians and Shelby Countyans unless you're truthful, and you can't be truthful if you're not transparent. So those are the 3 T's that we need to remember. You got to tell the truth, You got to be transparent if you want the trust of the citizens. And the only way that you're going to be an effective law enforcement agency is to have the cooperation and trust of the citizens. Now, there's one other letter that we need to speak to, and that's at R. Just a reminder to all of our citizens that we showed and led the way yesterday on how to conduct ourselves in spite of this horrendous, horrid tragedy that we're protesting. So we want to continue that. We want that R for respect. We want to respect the wishes of the family. We want to respect the memory of young Tyre Nichols. And we want to exercise our rights in a way that is responsible. So with that, I'll come back later for questions if necessary.
In just a moment, I'm going to have my leader to come up and talk just briefly about potential legislation. They drove in from Nashville for this particular important press conference. I think also we need to mention that there were 10 people, officers as I understand, that were present. And with there being 10 people present, I don't know how their involvement was, but we need to look into that as well. But also, there is responsibility when you see your colleague doing wrong, you need to get involved and stop it. Shouldn't be 10 people allowing 5 people to slaughter somebody in front of their face. You couldn't do that with me if I was an officer. You know, no weapon, 140 pounds, wet, okay, already subdued. So somebody should have stepped in and told him that's enough. Cuff the man and put him in the car and let that be it. Okay, you can't stand around, and that's aiding and abetting in my mind. Okay, however, I'm not saying what the circumstances were, how far they were, how close they were, but I think that needs to be looked into. Okay, because had it stopped halfway through, the young man would probably be alive. I'm sure he would be alive, and that's just not good. We can't let our colleagues go off and go renegade and do things they should and ought not do that cause extreme harm. Come back from a whipping, but you can't come back from death. Stop it. You know, broken leg is not terminal. That's not final. Okay, so we want to encourage that there's their involvement when there are cases like that, they get in and get in quickly. Now, if you don't mind, Chairman, John Ray, just for a hot second, you're coming at my request. Okay. And he's one of our leaders because we're going to look at possibly legislation. So I want him to just talk about that being the leader. Introduce yourself, if you don't mind, sir.
Thank you, Representative Towns, Representative Hardaway. First of all, let me just say what an honor it is to be in this historic venue with the men and women of AFSCME who literally make this city run. Memphis is the most beautiful city in the state of Tennessee, and unfortunately we're here to mourn the ugliest of tragedies. And so I just want to say, send again, on behalf of everyone, especially the Democratic Caucus, that we send our hearts and our prayers from across the entire state of Tennessee, as well as the nation, to lift up the family of Mr. Tyre Nichols. As a father of 3 young boys, I can't fathom being this young man's mother or parents in this situation. As a direct result of this, we will continue to follow the lead. Representative Hardaway, Representative Towns, other members of the Democratic Caucus from this community, and we will be introducing legislation. And first let me say it's truly unfortunate that legislation is required, that we would need to legislate humanity in 2023. We have a long way to go to reach that mountaintop. We will continue to introduce legislative initiatives to that end. I will be assisting my colleagues in this endeavor, and so you will see, again, from Tennessee Democrats, legislation to try to prevent this type of thing from happening in the future. So some of the topics that have been discussed, again, we continue to battle and address the need for implicit bias training among police officials across the state. We have seen in the past police officers or law enforcement be terminated for calls from one department in one city only to go to another city. That needs to stop. We have many different ways that we need to evaluate to address this issue. Again, it's truly unfortunate that this is even necessary, but as always, I will be following the leadership of my colleagues here in this endeavor, and once again, Democrats will be leading the charge on these very important issues. So thank you again for allowing me to join you this morning.
Thank you, sir. Now, finally, I want to emphasize that we're going to open up for questions.
I make it political.
Emphasize how proud we are
Don't they?
of police director,
That was,
how
the
quickly they investigated and
the
analyzed
Republicans
data
must have made this
and
happen,
terminated those
right?
guys that were on the force at that time. Right after that, just how quickly the Attorney General's office responded with the indictments. I think that has a lot to do with showing and settling the nerve and quieting the anger in this community, because it was done very quickly. Within 2 weeks, that was done. That's very important. I think Ben Crump, our good friend Ben Crump, has said that Tennessee, meaning Memphis, Tennessee at this point, is real exemplary and should be used as a model of how to respond. Unfortunately, these things will happen again. We think how to respond. Memphis is exemplary. It's a model of how they should handle this kind of infraction of a citizen's right, and that, especially ends up in
They act like this is over.
or death. So Memphis should be held in high esteem for that, but it's our director and our leader at the AG's office. And it's something that hopefully we can continue. But under no stretch of the imagination does that conclude the matter. We want justice for this family.
The protesting's not even over.
No substitute. We want justice.
Today's going to be
for this
worse.
family, and we want it swiftly for this family. We want justice. We want and demand justice. And as I said, it doesn't matter about the ethnicity or color, of the people that perpetrate or violate. We want justice. No substitute. We're not going to tolerate it. It's just that simple. Now we're going to open up to see if you all have any questions. Yes, ma'am.
When you talk about swift action, how soon could we see legislation here in Tennessee on the books?
Well, our session just started. We just restarted, So we actually, if we're able and successful in being able to do something, you have to understand now, Democrats, we're only 24 of the 99. But we could see it actually by the conclusion of the session, which is like 3 or 4 months. We could actually see something if we're able to do and pass on both sides of the House. I hope that our people in the General Assembly are sensitized to what's going on and will work with us. I think that they will if it's presented in the right way. But we could actually see something in April or May. We really could.
You talked about 24 out of 99 here in Tennessee. It is hard for Democrats to get legislation through. Are you concerned that with this it won't happen, or do you think because of the nature of the case, like you said, it would?
Well, let me tell you what I see. This thing is so egregious. What helps us, I believe, is the footage. How can you look at that footage and not want to do something? It's there in not black and white. It's there in color.
I don't think he ran, dude,
This is going
until he
around.
had
I
to.
was having,
They were
lunch-
kicking his ass for no
lunch meeting yesterday
reason.
with a guy that's out of Europe. This is all over in Europe. His wife called him
Outta here with that
and asking
shit.
what is going on in Memphis. It's everywhere. The president has contacted his family, offering condolences and so forth. So you would be hard-pressed to look at this footage and see what happened to that young man.
A kick in the
and not
face
try to
while
do
he was
something.
complying,
If a dog
too.
in this country was beaten like that, what the hell would happen?
Get out of here. Who are you?
You all know what would happen. Ask Michael Vick.
JK, fuck off.
If a dog is beaten like that, somebody's going to jail. Now you got a man that's dead. So that's something somebody else has to explain. I'm not saying we won't be able to do it. I think we will, because I've been able to do certain things, and I've been there long enough. We have a relationship. Hopefully we can get things done on both sides of the aisle, because this is definitely not partisan. It's not anti-police, because we do, as I say, have friends and family that we love, but it's about making sure that we do it right and making sure we take care of a man that really didn't do anything. They hadn't even validated a violation of a traffic stop from what the police director said. So I think we will. Next question. Any colleagues want
Could
to
I
jump in?
respond
Can.
to that?
Sure, help yourself, come in.
And as my colleague said, we'll be preparing bills, and we actually have a bill filing deadline of Tuesday. So the bills that will go forward will be filed by Tuesday. One such bill will deal with the mental health care for law enforcement officers. We want to make sure that when you're hired, that you have had a psychological evaluation.
They don't do that?
And that you're suited for this
What?
job and the job is suited to you. We also want to look at
Bro.
establishing annual
They eval Best Buy
mental
employees.
health evaluations, so that we can do what? So that we can catch the problem before it becomes the problem of the law enforcement employee, before it becomes a problem for a citizen out in the streets. We also
Not
are
bad. Oh,
contemplating
alright.
whether it makes sense to have
Fucking moron.
random
Yeah.
mental health checkups. So you would come in the morning and roll call, and instead of going out on your duty, then you would go to the counselor, to the psychologist, psychiatrist, and get your checkup. So we've got that, and we've got some other things in place that we're working on, but I think that's one of the most significant. And we're also looking at the issue of whether these untrustworthy individuals, those who lie but might not receive but might not receive any firm, definable discipline, whether when those guys end up in court, whether that information needs to be divulged to the defense. So we're talking about revisiting the Brady Rule.
Oh yeah, how you been, dude?
Next question.
Can you elaborate
Been a long
on
time, too
the
long.
importance of protesting? You talked about it's important that activists protest after situations like this. Tell us why that's important.
All right, listen. This country, we know the history of this country to a large degree, all right? Even though we didn't get it taught to us like we should have in high school, elementary school. Protest has changed this country. This building here, this union here, a large part of what made it a significant union around the world is because Dr. King and the members like this gentleman right here had to get out and protest for the rights. The thing about freedom and the thing about rights is that you cannot figure that once you achieve those rights, like freedom around the world, that they're going to be maintained, because there comes somebody with these crazy ideas that try to take them away. And so you got to stand up and protest for them. That's something we should never lose in this country, the right to protest and assemble. If you do, what happens, there's a groundswell that bubbles up and erupts to something that's not really good. People always need to be able to express themselves, whether they agree with me or not. That's your constitutional right, and we need to do it. That's an expression that Americans have, and we don't need to lose it at any cost. Always exercise your right to protest. Now, sometimes things get a little rough, because circumstances are a little rough. But under this circumstance, we are calling for, we're going to do what Mama said. Mama said she wants peace, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to give her peace. We're going to protest, but we're going to give Mama peace. She needs no more anguish. The Wells need no more anguish. Mr. Nichols' family needs no more anguish, but we want to protest. Because we don't want, under any circumstance, people to think that this is okay. This is not okay. What has happened is not okay. Come on, sir.
The City of Memphis City Council introduced 8 can't wait a couple of years ago, and they say that is part of the reason the officers were arrested so quickly, because they violated some of those 8 can't wait rules. Is that something that could be put on a broader level, from a state level, that all officers have to follow those rules so they can lose their jobs?
That's a part of what I believe ought to come out of this when we introduce legislation. Okay, part of the problem with our communities is when there's something like that happens somewhere in the country, okay, there's a sandbagging. The citizens don't get the information in due time. The tape gets lost. The tape is modified. There's no transparency. When you do those kinds of things, what happens is people begin to doubt. especially when there are no indictments over an extended period of time, 20 years, 40 years, 50 years. When you change it and do what we did today, what that does, that calms the nerve, that settles down the anger, that lets people figure that you're gonna, possibly we can get justice at the end of the day. People want justice. They don't want any more than that. Just fair treatment, just justice. So these are excellent maneuvers that have taken place. And yes, it needs to be something that we could actually stretch across the state. We should. Okay, the circumstances are the same. We should. That law or that application, we made it a law. That application would soothe the heartbreak, the anger, okay, the frustration. I think it's a great idea. You want to say anything, sir?
No. Yes.
Okay.
Thank
Go
you. When we look at policy, we know that policy is only as good as the personnel or the people who execute it or carry it out. So we're back to the hiring practices and the management of the personnel who you've hired. So I would say that it doesn't matter what policy we put in place if we're hiring the wrong people. If we're lowering the bar and taking individuals into law enforcement who otherwise would not wear a badge,
Thanks for 300
then we've
hours.
got to revisit
600
that.
hours. Thanks.
These are folks who we are giving permission at their discretion to take your liberty or your life. We've got to do a better job of deciding who has that authority. So yes, we're going to revisit the policies of the department. We're going to sit down with our city councilmen, and we're going to sit down with our county commissioners and talk about policy. We're going to talk about funding, who needs to kick in more dollars so that we can hire the right kind of people. We're going to talk about that. But overall, the state has a constitutional responsibility for the safety of its citizens. So the great state of Tennessee has got to give us some money so that we can help the citizens who live here, help the citizens, the tourists who come to play here, and those who work here.
And that includes making sure the guys get a raise, because police officers don't make enough money. They should be paid far more money than what they receive. You got another one, sir?
What?
I just want to ask you all, after how this situation has
Bro,
been handled,
what's happening?
do you still have confidence in
Give us
Chief
money.
Davis
Give the police
to lead
money.
This police department?
Just give everybody money, Tennessee. Hurry up.
Okay, of course. That has nothing to do with Chief Davis. Chief Davis didn't go out and do that. These cats are 24 years old to 32. They know better. That has no reflection of Chief Davis or many of the officers that are there. She's the one who gave us swift action. She's the one who terminated that bad behavior. Has nothing to do. She just got here. What, 18 months? She's been here that long. These problems are across the country, and they're systemic throughout our forces across the state sometimes, okay? Has no reflection on her. Let that be emphatically stressed. Yes, I support the chief. Absolutely, 100%. No diversion, no backing up, no moonwalking on it. She is doing her job from what I see right now, okay? Next question.
As a follow-up,
Come on. Come on.
We might not be completely on the same page on this. I support the chief, but I think that our scrutiny needs to go all the way up to the C-suite in City Hall. The policies, especially when you have the kind of policies that create these type of special units, are getting authorized at the top of the pyramid. So I'm going to hold and not render an opinion at this time, but everyone in the Memphis Police Department needs to be looked at, and we need that patterns of and practices reviewed by the Department of Justice. I'd love to see the Memphis Police Department do it voluntarily, but we need it. So we don't need to pay a consultant to come into the Memphis Police Department and tell them what's wrong. We need for the Department of Justice to do its job and evaluate the patterns and practices which they probably already have far too many files on the Memphis Police Department, and some aren't that old, just a few years old. But we need that in order to ensure, going back to the T's, and that's truth, transparency. We've got to have that if we're going to have trust. And I think it's going to take someone with the arm's length of the Department of Justice. You can't pay a consultant to come in and tell you everything that's wrong with your company. If some of that involves your failures, I just don't trust having MPD pay a consultant to come in and tell us what's wrong from top to bottom. I don't think we're going to get a clear and honest story on that. I want the Department of Justice to come in and do patterns of practices review of the Memphis Police Department.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a follow-up question to that. We've heard your message to the family. What's your message to those 5 officers that are now bonded out at home, other officers that are under investigation, EMT officials, and just officers around the world, as you say, who have their eyes on the city of Memphis right now?
Well, I mean, you have empathy for anybody even when they run afoul of the law. Even though those people we think are running afoul of the law, you still have compassion. I have compassion for human beings. You know, at this point, what we have to do is let the system work, and we pray for them like we do the other families. Okay, it's a heartbreaking situation. There's no pleasure in any of this at all. There's losers on all sides. It's sad, but what really breaks my heart is the fact they were so young, and they know that those are the kinds of things that other young African American men experience in the community. Okay, but still, there again, you know, if that was my friend or my cousin or my brother, this and another, I have the same concern for that particular human being, even though they've done something bad. Okay, that's what you call being a human being, you know. So we have to pray for them too. It's not one-sided, not unilateral. Next question. Yes, sir.
You mentioned more questions than answers earlier about the unit, about the circumstance of how this happened, things like that. What are you expecting to get those answers?
Well, let's restate it. Let me make sure I understand you. Say it again, please.
You mentioned questions about the unit, about the circumstances of how this happened.
Right.
You mentioned pushing for those answers. I know it may take a little bit of time. What are you expecting to hear things?
Well, these things, first thing I would have to do is the things that I have suggested here, we make sure that Steve Morrow, the Attorney General, gets those things. And, you know, obviously we can't dictate to them. You want it to be thorough and let it run the process. I wouldn't put a time limit on their office. But he knows as they expedite this particular deal, they'll do it in a respectful manner. They got to analyze it. That's not my job to go in and research, but I have to pose and ask them to look into these kinds of things. There could be something there. There may not be anything there. I don't know. It just sounds fishy and kind of peculiar. It's just something that does not sit right in the good old gut, you know. So if they can figure it out, they give us some feedback on it, hey, sometime reasonably, and I'm sure he will. It's not like he doesn't have enough on his plate right now. But, I can't put a time frame on it. But, you know, I'm not talking about a year, 6 months, nothing like that. Okay, I'm sorry. Next question. Probably saw another hand. Yes, sir.
A lot of these instances start traffic stops. In your opinion, should police be involved in making traffic stops still in Tennessee?
Well, look, that question's come up. I think the time could be better utilized. We have about 600, I think, 50 people, cops, officers short. Okay, and there's real crime going on in our city, like there is in other cities.
And they catch it with traffic stops sometimes.
And we have those traffic cops to deal with those particular kinds of things, and our officers are able to deal with the more urgent, more serious things. That may help. We still got to get the complement up. We still got to get that 650 or 500, whatever it is, up. But I think it would be better, and they're trained differently. I think it would be better use of their time.
Dude.
There again, I would be open to see what the chief and the union and all those people say about it. But still, I'd rather see them out policing, dealing with gangs, dealing with drugs, and dealing with homicides, and dealing with domestic violence, that kind of stuff. I really would rather see that.
They find those people through traffic stops, though.
I think it'd be better use of their time. Come on.
And I agree with my colleague, and we're actually working on legislation which will refocus our energies from merely dealing with de-escalation techniques and move us into non-escalation techniques. Some of that will be about how you talk, how you posture when you're interacting.
Why'd they run
in the
up on
field.
him like that?
Critical part of
All
that
ran up on him.
is just what Chairman Towns talked about, and that's whether we need to make all of these traffic stops that we're making. So we need to collect data, analyze it, and make a decision on whether the chances of violence and thus the chances of injury or death to both the citizen and to our law enforcement officers, whether that's justified for the effectiveness of these random stops. And when we do the stops, do we have to take folks to jail for non-violent offenses? I would suggest to you, no. And the arrest procedure is another point where we seem to have violent encounters between the citizens and the law enforcement in the field. So I'm with my colleague on that. We've got to move ahead and take that next step and advance the discussion past de-escalation into non-escalation techniques. If you don't get to the escalation point, ain't nothing to de-escalate.
Many of the traffic stops should result in just a ticket, if anything. I mean, you don't want your high-paid officers to say we got them a raise out being responsible for tickets. That's like a tariff, raising taxes with ticket. Some of these municipalities, they do it when you drive through there. You don't want that. Their time could be better utilized, I think, and more effective for us as citizens when you got real problems in our community. Next question. Let's take two more.
Dude, there are some cities
Saturday, I want you guys to like us after.
in Shelby County that are straight scary to drive through because of the cops.
Is that it? Okay. Thank you all for coming once again. Hey,
Thank you,
sadly,
everyone.
out of these circumstances, but you know, thank you all very much.
Did y'all
I don't think we're gonna do that.
We do have additional comment from labor.
Women said no.
Oh. Okay, just a second.
They will, if you want.
I got tortured in one of the jails out there too, and so in this same county. I've been in 3 jails there.
No, hold on, guys. Okay. All right.
Of course, 201 Poplar and the Penal Farm, which is where you go if you do any time past. I forget what it was. And a smaller. The smaller town was the worst by far, as far as them torturing us. Memphis and Penal Farm wasn't really that bad, actually. Memphis was worse than the Penal Farm. But the small city, they gave us 2 banquet TV dinners a day. One every 12 hours, 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock at night. You know how small those things are? All day long my stomach hurt, dude. And then my blanket had holes in it. It was super holy. It couldn't keep me warm at all. And they had it was summertime. It was like middle of July or something. Super hot outside, but it was so cold inside of our cell that we could see our breath when we breathe. And the clothes, like, you don't have any undergarments, so you're like, everything's super drafty and everything's concrete, no pillow, like, and the bed mat was super fucking stale and it wasn't soft, you know. And like I said, the blanket was all holey and super thin. I was so flared up in there, dude, because they were straight torturing us, dude. We were like, dude, it's too fucking cold in here, man. We're like, bundled up. They're in the other area with coats on and shit, laughing, knowing that we're starving in there, dude. But those banquet TV dinners are way too small for a grown-ass man. 2 of them a day, and the breakfast ones are even smaller than the dinner ones. It was like less than 1,000 calories a day or something. And but they were freezing us. So yeah, dude, Tennessee is. There's a reason why I don't live in Tennessee anymore, and that's part of it. Like their weed laws, and then if you get busted for weed, you end up getting in a place like that possibly if you're in the wrong city at the time. Because and that's the city that if you drive through, you had to be very careful and like abide by all the laws. And if you had a tail light out or something, you were fucked. They were definitely going to pull you over if they saw you. It's crazy out there. It's probably still like that. Like California ain't nothing like that, man. I even replaced my tags. I got tags from like 3 years ago of my sticker. Like they're good, like anyway, like they're registered. I just keep forgetting to put the sticker on my plate. If I was out there, they'd pull me over just for having California plates. Possibly, that's possibly. But without the sticker, for sure they're pulling me over. Without the updated sticker, they'll be looking at my plate all close, like, oh yeah, oh he's got money, he's from California. They seriously think that, dude. Like I'm up to no good, and I got money because I got those plates. And yeah, or if you're black driving, they're gonna look for something probably in that town to pull you over. So DA to change theirs before I came. Yeah, right. That's I don't know. Tennessee's taking their time though. I don't know if anything else is going on with. Yeah, exactly. Especially if you're running on the 40. If you go along the 40 from west to east, they think you're running drugs. I think it was worse back in the day, dude. I got pulled over once in Oklahoma when I was going to Tennessee, and I had just got done smoking, and I was going through a construction zone, and I don't know what I did wrong. I forget. Maybe I was going a little fast or something, but they lit me up right after the construction zone, and when he pulled me over, he brought me to his car, dude. He had me sitting in his car, and I forget what he noticed at the time. If it was my um, boots or I forget what the heck he noticed, but he asked me about military service, and I told him, yeah, I was in the Navy, and he ended up like giving me a warning, but I know he smelled it because I had a lot of weed in the car, dude, and I had just smoked, and he was contemplating fucking me up right then because that was, dude, that was like years ago. So back then, Oklahoma was super strict on it too, but he was ex-military and he gave me a pass, dude. But like if I would have been anybody else, that would have been it, dude. Probably. Yeah. So, but yeah, I-40 going across the country, especially in Arkansas, dude, because Arkansas's got the and because people come from Texas and they come from like across, and Arkansas gets a lot of traffic going north to Chicago and west to DC and whatever. So Arkansas, dude, it's one of the scariest to drive through if you got. Well, it used to be. Now it's not so bad, dude, because they have medical weed. So like they're a little more understanding. But man, give it like a decade ago, or even 2 decades ago, driving across the country with weed was a little nerve wracking, right? And that's what they're still dealing with in Tennessee. That's the thing. That dude probably fight or flighted because he had some weed on him or something. Maybe because like the weed can fuck your whole life up out there. You got like an ounce or something on you, like you're done. You can end up doing some months in jail, right? I don't know how it's like out there. I just know back when I was smoking weed in Memphis, I was scared. And And if I would have had a bunch of cops start beating my ass out of nowhere because I wasn't reacting quickly enough or whatever, and how they blocked him in like that, it was all crazy, dude. I can't imagine the cops blocking me in like that as if I'm some sort of and they started hitting him instantly. They put your hand. They started fucking like, yeah, I don't know, man. They expect for people to be able to just cope with that craziness. Like you're just driving around, and then, shoop, all of a sudden I got a bunch of cops in my face yelling at me, and they blocked my car in. I'd be in shock. I think I would be trying to process that shit. Like, what the fuck is going on right now, man? What'd I do? Do anything? I'm going home, man. I just got off work. And then they start hitting me and shit. Yeah, dude, that would be crazy. Especially if I just smoked or something. Like, just smoked a blunt or something. And the right or the people that don't smoke, it's really easy for them to be like, well, fucking. I don't even know if he was smoking. I'm just saying that's worst case scenario. He might, because they were all saying he was on something. Did they check his blood? They had to have checked his blood at the hospital. What did he have in it? Has that not been released yet? Probably not. Maybe not. I would have heard about it by now, probably. Yeah, he worked at FedEx, though. They probably do randoms. You know? FedEx isn't, I mean... Yeah, he probably wasn't, dude, because he worked there with his dad. He might have smoked weed if they, depending on how they are out there. You know what I mean? How they, like, if he knows the ins and outs of the drug testing. Because he'd been out here, or in Memphis for 2 years from Sacramento. Anybody hear of any release of a drug? Okay, nobody's seen it. Yeah, the no proof of the reckless driving too is like the chief said that. Didn't see. Yeah, and that's why that guy that just spoke said that it seems like something's fishy. Like there was something else going on here for them to do what they did. Like he didn't do something they wanted him to do. Maybe I don't know, man. Like for them to just beat a dude up. And, like he didn't have a record. Like if they ran his plates, and if he didn't have a record, that's crazy, dude. What are they gonna say their excuse was for doing what they did? Even like this is gonna be an interesting trial if it goes to trial. And why didn't the white guy get charged with anything? If he truly said something about stomping him, somebody said in chat that they heard him say, go stomp him. Or maybe he said stop him. Stop him. Great hell, he wasn't there. Was it the same night that they beat him up? I forgot to look at the tapes time. I got double age restricted last night, by the way. You know, right before I showed the... It's interesting. Huh. They age restricted me, though, on the part that I hadn't ate, like... But the whole video gets age restricted. You know what I mean? Like, you remember how I showed the above angle one first? And I hadn't age restricted it yet? And I age restricted it for the up close ones where we could hear the audio. Last night I got an age restriction from YouTube saying we have done it. You haven't gotten a strike, but we've done it because of, and they're now, dude, they're actually giving us a timestamp. that's the first time I've ever gotten a timestamp from a takedown. So that's awesome that they're starting to do that. And I clicked on it and it took me right to the first video of the above angle with no audio. Apparently they knew that I hadn't age restricted it yet by that point in their algorithm or their database of information on me. I didn't do it soon enough and they saw that. Thing for that one, probably. My neighbor's moving out right now, I can hear him. Yeah, I don't think he grabbed for their cobs. I didn't see him swing at them, that like they said. I don't think they realized that the above camera was there. That's the thing. I wonder if that's who reported them, because it moved at the very beginning. It strafed right to it, unless it's some kind of automatic thing that detects movement. Oh, they can show it too, but I mean, they probably had to age restrict their video. Right? All the other ones are probably age restricted by now. What is up with this eagle? Hopefully it's alright. The other one isn't hashing, y'all. I don't think so. The egg was over there, but this one, it's alright. Little eaglet fam. Right? They were all massive. Well, most of them looked like they would go to the gym. They kept acting like he was on some sort of superhuman strength-inducing drug. While at the same time looking like a rag doll while they were hitting him. Like, he didn't at all look like he was fighting back. He was just getting punched, and they're acting like he's got superhuman strength while they were holding his hand saying, "Give me your hands." It really seems like there's something else going on here, that they beat him for something else. Had nothing to do with the traffic stop, or I don't know, man. Maybe they just wanted to beat somebody. Maybe it's like something they do. They find some dude to beat up and they beat him up and they all go have a beer afterwards. Talk about how their knees are sore and shit. Huh. Oh man, some kind of club they're in. If they run from us, we beat their ass, right? Right? Right. Make sure you knock your camera off. Because if that above one wouldn't have been taking everything like it did, because he walked away. One of the dudes walked away with to his car while they were still hitting him, and you can hear that go on the other camera that's covered up. But that above camera, they didn't know it was there. That caught everything. They didn't know I was there, man. How many times have they done that? He's just the first one that died, maybe. They took it too far this time or something. Because they all acted like it was after like a sports game afterwards. They all breathing heavy and like talking about their sports injuries and shit. Yeah, man, my knee. This time. I don't know. It was just like so normal for them, it seemed. Man, Memphis is crazy. I don't recommend it. Why are their houses so expensive still? I was looking at moving there like last year and I'm like, are they serious? How are they thinking people are going to want to go pay that? They're going to It's not only the people, like it's the dangerous because the violence in Memphis, but you also got to deal with the cops that are now up. Like the cops are different out there because of the violence. You know, they're always on edge a little bit because they always have to watch their back in Memphis, and that's creating a different type of police officer there out of like, a necessity, the defense mechanism, man. They don't know who's got a gun out there at this point. It's getting crazy in Memphis. It's the most violent city in the country. That's it. So they got to fix that before they can fix the police officers. Kinda. You fix the police officers before you fix the violence, it's going to get more violent, isn't it? I think I would rather have violent police than a more violent people living there. I don't know, man. Which is better? Would you rather be scared to walk to the grocery store all the time, or just when you see someone in police uniform so you know who they are? It's like the Taliban over there. They couldn't tell who the Taliban was and who they weren't. That's what it's like in Memphis when you go to the store. You don't know who is a bad guy. Well, if you knew the cops were the bad guys, you know who to look out for. They got to wear uniforms though. None of this scorpion shit with unmarked vehicles and walking around in regular outfits. Because then you don't know if that dude's actually a cop or not. We need to know. I don't know what's better. How many murders have there been in Memphis this year? Let's see. It's automatically just bringing up those murders. I want to know. It's just going straight to the five police officers that killed one person. That's not what I want though. Murder rate 20. I put in Memphis murder rate 2023, and all I'm getting is shit on the police killing that dude. But what? How many have actually been murdered by just random people murdering? That's what I want to know. Well, it's okay. Let's see what the end of year was for last year. Homicide rate in Memphis dropped 13% from 21 to 22. There were still 302 homicides. 302. I mean, that probably isn't a lot if it was like New York or Los Angeles or a huge, like, but it's Memphis. That's kind of a lot. I wonder how many there were in LA. Yeah, see, 382 for LA for 2022. So they had more, but we have way more people and way more surface area for the. So, yeah. They almost had as many murders as LA. That's pretty crazy. Yeah, and the cop that looked at him too, Ham's Patty, the cop that had medical gear, just looked at him and let him slump over and wasn't really trying to help him at all. It was for show. And I can't even imagine Like, he was probably going through some shit at that point. If he was getting swelling on the brain or something, he probably could feel that something wasn't right and needed help. And thought that when he saw that guy with his bag, that he was going to start helping him. And he just stared at him, pretty much told him to sit up. Which I guess is what he needed to do to keep blood from rushing to his head and keep it from swelling more, but yeah, and the cop denied driving him to medical care. I heard it on the radio. They dispatched, they said, or the medical people said, "Can you bring him to us?" And he scoffed it off, like, what? Put him in my car? That's gonna play into it, dude. They're gonna throw it at that dude, probably. And the dude that ran up to him and kicked him in the face out of nowhere while he was complying. He was like, he whimpered like a, all right, all right, all right. And he was giving him his arm, and then homeboy ran up and kicked him in the face, dude. And then they started all going in on him because I guess they were like, whoop, I guess we're doing this now. His neck was broken? They said that? That's probably when he kicked him. Broke his neck then, probably, man. Because dude, I can't imagine getting kicked like. I've been kicked in the face like that while I was down, but yeah, I forgot. It broke my tooth actually. I didn't break my neck though. I wasn't totally down like that either. I was on my knees. You kicked me in the stomach. Dude, I got in my knees, and he kicked me in the fucking face, dude. In my own backyard, at a party we were having, because I filmed him and some girls he'd brought over. Thing is, those girls are underage. I didn't know that. And he was freaking out about it. And I should have been freaking out about it too. They were underage for drinking, not under 18. That we were, you know what I'm saying, we were drinking and they weren't 21. And he didn't want to get caught giving them alcohol or some shit. So he was telling me to put my camera away at my house. And I was like, what? Fuck you. I live here. Fuck out of here. Like, say, I know we're fighting. And he kicked me in the stomach. Then he kicked me in the face. Colorado, man. Wild, wild west out there. I didn't live there much longer. I was renting a room, man. I was like, fuck this shit. So, but yeah, it didn't break my neck. They kept on. I think they kicked him multiple times in the head, actually. Looked like the same dude kept going at him. Probably kicked him straight in the throat. Looked like it, actually. From the above angle and... Yeah, I can't imagine, dude. I can't imagine being kicked that many times, dude. Because I've experienced one or two, you know, a 1-2 combo. I've experienced that on the kicks, but multiple and with that fucking thing that Batani was hitting him with, and they were holding him while they were punching him. I'll be extremely surprised if some shit doesn't break in Memphis, dude. Seriously, though, the only thing that might save them is the fact that they were black. If they were white, it would already be on fire. I'm 100,000,000% sure that if they were white, Memphis would be on fire still, right now. Fire trucks would be running out of water. Oh, look at the eagle. Oh, it's looking at the egg. It's cleaning the space off around the egg. Oh, I wonder if it's ever gonna hatch. They are so aware, dude, of like everything. The way that she is able to feed the eaglet and take the food out of its mouth when she thinks it can't swallow it. And she'll take it out and she'll put it back in. And she'll watch. And then she'll be like, oh, nope. She'll take it out. She'll put it back in until she knows that it's not going to choke on it while it's swallowing. And she'll watch it while it's in it. Like, it's so amazing that this bird can see so far away while at the same time being like, whoop. That's amazing. We can't even make a lens that can do that. Why can't my phone lens? They got a lens like as big as my phone. Why can't they make one like that? What's taking so long, man? I want to do macro to telescope it all the way. I want to be able to, you know what I mean? I want to be able to use it like a telescope, like an eagle. It's so amazing they can do that, macro and telescopic vision. And to such accuracy. Yet with all their technology, we still are unable to accomplish it. Eagle cam. Get that first hit, let it clean. Colorado Springs? No. Oh, no, why do you say that? I've been to Colorado Springs. Something happened down there. Something. Oh, we got Atlanta protest. We got an Atlanta protest, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, there's no audio. Um. I don't know. There's not any audio. Is what it looks like. Nobody in chat either. There's no audio. Well, thousands protest Israel's new right-wing government. Whoa! Alright, so I guess I'm at I don't know, man. What should I do? Holy. Should I start an Israel protest stream? This is crazy. I don't know, man. That's pretty wild, though. Buffalo Man's at some kind of thing. Yes. Doing some redneck shit. Ottawa is having a anniversary. The truckers. Let me see if anything else is happening. Memphis. Ah, oh my gosh. They're moving. Oh, they got a moving truck and everything. Oh, it's happening now. I sent them another email, said you called. See if they're going to email me back and tell me, what the heck they called about. But oh, wait a second. What is this? Oh, what is this? I don't know. I don't know it. Like, what is it? Who are you? Oh, wait. It's still here. Not still here. Did they say anything about it? Dang, man, my bad. I think it was Lou. Lou, are you here? Was it you, Lou? Was it you, man? Is this you? Thanks, man. I think it's you, dude. Is it? Whoever it is, thank you. It doesn't say loose. That's all next to it. Was it your? Did you donate this morning? What is this? Was it? It's a secret donator. $10.27 actually. And it's you, Lou Sassol. Thanks, man. I gotta add it. Appreciate you, dude, for your generosity and support. All the way from Australia. That's how I thought it was you. Oh my gosh, I gotta add this though now. We just gotta add it. Boom. Done. What should the message be, Lou? You didn't put him back. I guess I don't have to put a message. I'll put no message. No message. The alert didn't work. Well, put your name on the screen. Why the alert didn't work? there though. Thanks, Lou. So I guess with this stream, I'm gonna end it, and I'll probably, I don't know, maybe I'll go live on the Doe channel instead, because there's nothing happening in Memphis anymore. Not that I see. Yeah. Thanks everybody for hanging out on this one. Time to go. Alright then. You too, Nick. Thanks for coming back through. You don't smoke weed anymore? Hey, congrats, Lou. That's awesome. Thank you for coming through. Thanks for the 10 spot, dude. Have a good one. I'll see you later. Enjoy yourself, everybody. Later, Bill, Tony, Cole, Bador. I don't always unban, asshole. I don't always unban. You want to test it? Who the fuck are you? Oh. You should have told me I'd banned you multiple times. Now, it's not going to take much for me to ban you over here. Well, now you know. Cole. Bye, everybody. Love you guys. Bye.